Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. The We Ball podcast is back. Tyler and I took a little week off. I did, in fact, have a sinus infection. It was not fun. But we're back. We had a nice, fun episode planned, but we keep rolling. We roll with the punches over here. Tyler, how are we doing, my brother?
Yeah, we took the week off. You obviously were sick. I was not feeling great either, but I'm happy we're back, like I said, and we're ready to get this started. We had the trade deadline. A lot of exciting things happened, and we've got a fun episode planned.
I'm gonna be honest with y'all. Tyler and I have sat on this call for over an hour at this point, just talking because we're ready to go. I'm all types of amped up. Tyler's all types of amped up. So this is either going to be the best episode you have ever listened to of any podcast, or this is going to be horrible because we have way too much energy to talk about everything and anything. Um, so we're gonna get right into it. We're gonna be grading some of the trades, the big six. To be honest, we're gonna be doing the big ones. Um, for both sides. Tyler, how about we get started with the first trade that went down, which was Roquan Smith.
Yeah, weird deal. I believe the Ravens are getting back. The Bears are getting back a second, which later, some seconds got moved around in other trades. But
I thought they were getting a second and something.
It's
Wasn't
a
it like a
second
second?
and a fifth, I believe. I can check, but it's a second and a day three pick is all I know. But I liked that compensation a lot for the Bears because from all I've heard from people who avidly watch the Bears, Roquan's been very inconsistent this year, and this just simply wasn't a guy who fits your timeline. You aren't even in year one of being a progressively good team yet. So and you don't even know if your quarterback is going to be the guy of the future. So you might be in year zero of this rebuild right now. And Roquan Smith isn't simply his prime is not long enough to last you until you're probably good when you have to pay him a lot of money and you don't want to pay. I know he's a great linebacker, but I don't know if you want to be paying a linebacker first before all these other guys that you probably have to go after. But as for the Ravens, I never felt like this was their biggest need. Obviously it helps a lot because Patrick Queen not being on the field, that's always a good thing.
It hurts.
Because he is
he
not
hurts
good.
the team. He
He
hurts
genuinely.
the team.
The Dolphins game, I would say maybe 30% of the reason the Dolphins came back is because Patrick Queen was on the field and they just were throwing at whoever Patrick Queen was on. So that's a big thing. Not having him on the field as much is going to be huge for them. Roquan obviously fills a big hole there, but I never felt like this was their biggest hole. I've always felt like it was going to be receiver, and they just refused to go after one. And now we hear that Bateman's out for the year. So it's just, I don't know. If I had to grade it, I would give it probably a B plus for the Bears. And then if I was going to give it Ravens a grade, like a C minus, it fills a hole, but it's just not the biggest one. And there's too many holes on this team.
Yeah, I don't think. I'm gonna be honest. I don't think this trade. It's good comp for the Bears, as we've said, but nothing's gonna happen with them. Now you have, you get a second. There is obviously some shuffling of picks. We'll get to that, but Justin Fields has the same exact stat line basically as Zach Wilson, and he gets called this budding star, and Zach Wilson gets called garbage, which does not make sense to me at all. Even though I do think Zach Wilson is bad at football, legitimately bad at football, and I've said that for years now, since the draft. But that's again besides the point.
And you're right too. And this year he's been awful, and because
but again,
this is one of those quarterback wins are not a stat,
Yeah, wins aren't a quarterback stat. Yes. However, I do think that just tank if you're the Bears. What does it matter at this point? And obviously you still want to develop Fields. So what they did was smart. I don't know that it was the best move. It's not who I would have gone after, especially with the asking price of some of the other receivers being similar to what was given for who they traded for. We'll get to that. But for the Ravens, I don't think this is their year. I don't think this was a time to go all in and trade your second round pick for a middle he's a linebacker. He's good. He tackles well. Okay, like cool. I don't obviously a need, but I'm not moved.
It doesn't move the needle for the Ravens. You're in the AFC was expected to be the best it's been in decades. I mean, since like the 90s is like the best the conference has been. We were expected to get like a crazy AFC, and this year we simply haven't because offensive play is so down this year as a whole, and specifically quarterback play. And when you have a guy like Lamar, you would think that this is the year that you would be like, yeah, we can go maximize Lamar and go probably win a bunch of playoff games. But offensively, they haven't done that, and I just think they're one of those teams with too many holes. I don't know how many you can plug. They're closer to being a rebuilding team than they are, I think, being a true Super Bowl contender. And they might win playoff games, but at the same time, I mean, they're probably going to win their division, but I don't know if they are really – they're one of those teams that you look at and you're like, can you fill enough in 1 year to go, potentially win a Super Bowl? And I just don't think it's possible with the Ravens. They didn't go out and address receiver this offseason. They have a severe lack of depth. They didn't go out and address it now. Linebacker, I mean, that's fixed. But how many teams do we see in the NFL that are successful that just disregard the linebacker position? A ton of them. They don't spend huge money. Major money on linebackers is not something you see anymore, and the Ravens just spent major capital on linebacker, and I'm really confused.
You know what you spend on linebackers? Second-round picks or late firsts, and you get Nick Bolton or somebody like Nick Bolton or Jamin Davis or JOK. Like there's so many guys we've seen. Nakobe Dean. Like there's just so many guys that you can get at linebacker now.
They got Patrick Queen.
Yeah, well, if you evaluate well, you can actually do something. But you're the Ravens. Like, no offense to the Ravens, they were a good team. They're not anymore. They are.
This is trying too hard to be a 2000s Ravens team, and it simply isn't. It's trying way too hard. This would have been a really sick trade in 2005.
But the crazy thing is, they have to pay Roquan now.
They have to pay Roquan, and they have to give Lamar the biggest bag imaginable. You are going to be paying a crazy percentage, I don't know the exact percentage, of your salary cap to Lamar Jackson and Roquan Smith. And it's great to have Lamar, but who are going to go out and acquire now? Who are you going to get a receiver? You're not going to have the money.
They have to hit on every draft pick, and they don't have a second now. This was a major miscalculation by the front office to try and make a run when a run was not there to be made. And I'm giving this a D+ for the Ravens. I'm giving it probably a C for the Bears, just because, I don't know. I feel like I'll give it a B- for the Bears.
I like the return, and you don't have to pay them.
Yeah, but I don't like what they did with the return.
I'm taking this trade separately. I'm giving it a B+.
Okay.
If you take it separately, I think it's a B+ or an A-. You got him off the books. You don't have to pay him, and it's a linebacker that you didn't need because of the fact that you're not competing right now.
If we're taking it as a separate deal, then I'll put it as a B+. Okay. But I think it's a D- for the Ravens. I do not think this is a good deal whatsoever.
I think that, we should probably move on to what they did with another second-round pick, which actually ended up being their own, which they sent to Pittsburgh in exchange. It ended up being their own and not the Ravens pick that they sent.
I don't like that.
Yeah. They ended up sending that to Pittsburgh for Chase Claypool, which, I mean, I understand it. You had to get Fields' help. I know. You have to figure out whether or not he's the guy. I mean, mentally, it doesn't look like he is. It seems like he's already quit on this team, too, multiple times. The side, even if you're just – I'm not a body language expert, but it does not look good for that whole situation right now. But I understand that you had to go out and get him weapons, and certainly Chase Claypool is an athletic freak. But we're seeing what's dominating the NFL right now. The Miami Dolphins have 2 top 5 performing wide receivers in the NFL right now because they're both elite separators. And Chase Claypool does not separate at a high level at all. It is I understand that, he's a solid deep threat. He's got really good speed and he's huge. But you need guys for these young quarterbacks who get open. And he's just not going to get open. Justin Fields has to gain so much trust with him. If you're using the rest of this year to evaluate Justin Fields, and maybe next year you go into it looking for a quarterback if he fails, you know how much time it's going to take Justin Fields to gain trust with a receiver who won't get open? Like, this is not helping you evaluate Justin Fields right now. For the Steelers, I love it. You're getting a probably top 40 pick. You're getting probably a top 40 pick for a guy who was the number 3 receiver on your team. At best, number 3.
And not good this year. Straight up.
Not good this year. Number 3 receiver on your team for the future. You just drafted Pickens, who looks like an absolute stud. You have Deontay Johnson, who we already know is good. And you aren't winning right now. And you just got another second-round pick that you can go use to get God knows what help for Kenny Pickett at this point. So for the Steelers, I'm giving this an A.
Yeah.
I'm giving it an A 100%. And for the Bears, only because I understand that you're trying to help Justin Fields, I will give it a D+.
Yeah, I don't. However, I do think. I don't know. You could have gotten. This is my thing, right? This is gonna sound stupid, but you could have gotten Kadarius Toney for less, and that would have actually helped Justin Fields. Just because,
or even Jerry Jeudy for a similar price, I feel like is a better separator. I understand that he has the drop issues, but I feel like that makes more sense.
You would have to pay. You probably would have had to pay more, and he's further along in his deal, and he's more expensive. So I can see why they didn't go the Jeudy route. But if you're really trying to evaluate,
Justin Fields,
any young quarterback, you have to get them someone who they can just put the ball on and he'll be open, because there's always gonna be.
Look at what we're seeing with all the young quarterbacks right now.
I'm sure Tua has walked this the right way, but I don't know how. You have to know that they can make the throws in open space.
Yes,
if they can't do that, they can't make the 50-50 balls.
The timing has to be there, and we saw what these young quarterbacks have done with receivers who can maximize their timing. Tua in the Miami Dolphins offense it looks absolutely dominant right now when he's healthy because he has Waddle and Tyreek. You're looking at Joe Burrow when he has Jamar Chase on the field, who separates at an elite level, and Joe Burrow looks awesome when Jamar Chase is on the field. You're looking at Jalen Hurts when he has A.J. Brown. All of these young quarterbacks
and Devontae Smith.
And Devontae Smith, another elite separator in college who has performed at a high level at the next level. All these young quarterbacks have somebody who they can throw the ball to open. You have to be able. You're never going to throw the contested ball if you've never seen the receiver open before. If all you see are contested passes, you're just going to slow down your quarterback's processing and ruin them from a mental standpoint. And I just don't see how this helps Justin Fields. Darnell Mooney is fine, but it just doesn't this is not a duo that scares anybody either.
I didn't even think of it as a duo. Now that I'm seeing Mooney and Claypool as a scary wide receiver duo in tweets, I know it's going to be in tweets. It's kind of hilarious to think about. But yeah, I think this was a really good trade for Pittsburgh. I think I'm going to give it an A because there was nothing that Claypool was going to do, and he doesn't. He only has a year and a half-ish left on his deal. He wasn't going to do anything for you, and he wasn't going to help Pickett. Deontay Johnson helps Kenny Pickett. You're going to have to pay him eventually, but how much are you really going to have to pay Deontay Johnson? And then, you look at Pickens. Pickens is going to help him because he came in with him and is already building that trust, and it's a very visible trust that you see with the two of them. Even if he's not always separating, he does get separation, but he's not always separating. He can still catch a 50-50. So, I think this just makes sense for Pittsburgh way more than it does for the Bears.
Oh, for sure. And the fact that pick could very well net you a first round talent, a guy that you're going to have a first round grade on. because this is like a draft class that you can definitely see them having a lot of first round grade zone guys, and that could be top 35, top 40.
Yeah, I mean, I'm trying to run through names right now that they could get at that spot. And there's going to be some really good wide receivers that they can get at that spot, because you look at this draft class and it's pretty like it's underratedly full of good talent at the wide receiver position. I don't think people are looking at it in the way that they should be. But like Quentin Johnson, Keishawn Butte, Jordan Addison, Jackson Smith and Jigba, Josh Downs, Raheem Jarrett, Jalen Hyatt, Marvin Mims, like those I just listed off those guys. Those are dudes. Like those are legit wide receivers who are going to be good at the next level. I don't think they're going to be Jamar Chase. Like I don't think any of those guys, except for maybe JSN or Quentin.
Yeah,
Johnson,
this isn't
like that
this
level.
isn't the 2021 class of wide receivers, but it's a deep class.
It's a deep, very good. Like they're good. Like they're all like 5 of the dudes I just named are high end wide receiver 2s, low end wide receiver 1s.
So what did you give it for? What did you give this grade for Chicago?
For Chicago, this is like a D. Like this is bad. This is not a good trade. No matter how you shake it, you could have gotten a guy who does the exact same thing as Claypool in the draft with that pick, and you could have gotten a guy better than Claypool in the draft with that pick. It's a gamble, but you should be willing to take that gamble when you have a young quarterback. But let's move on. We're gonna move on.
I think there's a trade I think we could get to right now.
Oh my God, this kid wants to talk about Bradley Chubb, so we're gonna talk about Bradley Chubb. It's a good trade. We get it. They didn't want to have to pay him in Denver because Denver's a bunch of cheapskates. No, I'm kidding. Like you pay your quarterback, you don't pay your elite edge rusher. Whoop-de-doo. You guys are horrible. And
I think you're looking at it wrong though. I don't think it's much of we don't want to pay Bradley Chubb as much. I think this is a very early admission that they were wrong about Nathaniel Hackett and Russell Wilson as a duo. I think it's a very early admission because if they believed that this team could go win, they would go pay Bradley Chubb. They don't have any confidence that this team is going to go win anything of significance. And I think that's what it shows. And I mean, I think it's good that you're admitting it now, but I think Bradley Chubb's the guy you're going to pay. And I understand that right now he just signed the contract extension with Miami, and it's big. He's like the fourth.
It's large.
Page edge rusher.
It is large.
But when you look at it 2 years down the line, like
it's gonna be nothing.
Brian Burns is about to get a bag. Brian Burns got supposedly a trade offer of 2 first-round picks from the Rams. God knows that's when
they are.
When my future son is coming in the league, that's when those picks are. That's not the point, though.
You don't got the genes for that.
Fair point. But, like, that guy's about to get a huge bag. And there are so many other young edge rushers in the league.
Look at this draft class alone.
Exactly. I mean, look at Hutch. Look at Trayvon Walker. Look at
Tibbs.
Kayvon Thibodeau. Like,
it's insane.
3 guys who are drafted in top 5, 7?
Yeah, top 5.
5. Like, and then you look at the previous guys. You
look at this year, this upcoming year. You have Will Anderson and you have Nolan Smith from Georgia. You have there's the whole Clemson D line is elite. Like,
there's no doubting that I think the Bradley Chubb contract is a lot better value than it's getting painted as.
Yes,
because I understand he is not. I will say it as a Dolphins fan, he is not the tier 1 of edge rusher.
No,
but when you take into account that there are probably 4 tier 1 edge rushers in the league right now, 4, then how many teams have a tier 1 edge rusher? 4. So like you've got to pay the rest of the guys. What are you going to do? Not pay them at all? Like, I don't think the difference between tier 1 and tier 2 is to the point where you're just not going to pay any of these guys. So for the contract extension part, I think we got to wipe that out as that's a pretty good deal for Miami, to be honest. But for the trade perspective, I think what this shows is how confident Miami is in Tua. I think they were confident. I think they were. I'm going to be real. Going into the season, I thought the confidence was more of a ploy by Tyreek and Mike McDaniel to try to maximize him and see what he could bring. And I thought they were both just supporting the quarterback that they have because they understand they weren't going to get anything better this year. But you just proved to that guy, whether or not you did in the locker room, you just publicly proved that you're riding with him. And as of lately, it's a good decision to make because the guy is on his
This
rookie
kid was a
deal.
doubter. I just want to remind everyone that
I
this
was.
kid
I was
was
very
a
much
Tua
so,
doubter.
and I am very much. I am very much turning
I
around
stayed
on Tua.
true the entire time. Roll Tide, baby.
I will admit that I was partially wrong, and now that is a public admission that you're riding with Tua because now you don't have quarterback insurance for next year. You can't go draft a guy in the first round unless you are willing to mortgage your entire future to go do it. And Miami's not going to do that. I'll tell you right now, they're not. And I'm happy with the decision. And I think that of only a first for, I understand it's a first round pick, but it's a late first because San Francisco is tearing it up right now. Christian McCaffrey was a better deal than it's getting credit for, and he's tearing it up with them. So that pick is probably going to be in the late 20s. And a late 20s first round pick or Bradley Chubb, I think a team like Miami that is looking to maximize their window is going to take Bradley Chubb. So for them, the only concern with Chubb would be injuries. I'm going to give it a B+. And then for Denver, I mean, if you look at it in totality with the Russell Wilson deal and all that stuff, you would give it a lower grade. But if I'm going solely off this, if it's a bad look. But if I'm going solely on this deal alone, like we did for the first Bears deal, it's a good trade for them. I think it's honestly like I don't think either team gets an A yet. I think if Miami wins a ring, it's obviously an A.
Or it's an A+.
Or if Denver goes and drafts an elite player, then it becomes. But right now, I think it's a B to B+ for both sides.
Yeah, I don't hate that. Again, I think it is a good trade, bad look for Denver.
Like I said, but in its totality, it's bad because of the fact that you just went all in on winning right now.
Yeah, but like again, good trade, bad look for Denver. It's a good look, and it is a good trade for Miami. So I personally am going to have them higher than what I'm giving Denver. I'm giving Denver probably a B-, just because you're not going to get an edge rusher of his caliber for as cheap as this deal will be in 3 years or 4 years. When he's in his when he's at the top of his game in 3 to 4 years, that
he's only 26 right now. Exactly, he's only 26, and he is going to be entering his prime, having already gotten the biggest contract of his career. Yep. You are not going. Like, whether you like it or not, I would be willing to bet you're not going to pay Bradley Chubb the amount at 31 that you paid him at 26. So you probably just got his biggest contract over with. And, I mean, it's a great edge rusher, exactly. I mean, what were you saying as far as what you were going to give Miami?
I think Miami gets a B+, and I think Denver gets a B-. I don't think this is a C trade for, like, either team. I don't think it's an A trade for either team. But I think it being a good look for Miami gets it like right there to be an A trade because you do have faith in your quarterback. You have faith in your brand new head coach, your brand new entire staff. And if you're Chris Grier, that's his name, right?
Chris Grier, yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's a guy who, if I just might add something really quickly, that's a guy who, like, the strength of his entire tenure has been trades. This all stemmed from the Laramie Tunsil deal that happened 3 years ago. This is the end of the Laramie Tunsil deal. It took 3 years for that to come to completion. And out of it, you got the picks that became Tyreek Hill, Jalen Waddle, Bradley Chubb, like Javon Holland, like turning the Hall. Like if you look at it from both sides in its totality and you look back to what it stems from, I think Miami would have to get an A. But like you said, we're looking at it on a one trade basis.
Yeah, I'm not going down this trade's family tree, all right? Like, I'm not doing its ancestry. However, if you're Chris Grier, you're showing faith in a completely new staff, a quarterback who last year reports were you had no faith in. You were going to go out and get a guy who's going to be suspended for most of the season, maybe even more at the time. Like, you didn't know because you didn't trust this kid. And now you fire that head coach who was a winning head coach. You trust him. You have a new young head coach, like an extremely young head coach in Mike McDaniel, extremely fun head coach in Mike McDaniel. You bring in more fun players like Tyreek Hill. And then you sum all of those offseason moves up and all that trust into after injuries. And now it's time to go. It's time to roll. It's time to, as Tyler would say, burn the boats or whatever the hell that even means. Who cares? It's Miami stuff, how those fans are.
Yeah, we're weird.
But you sum that up with a a top 2 tier edge rusher, and you
For sure.
put someone across from Phillips who's gonna take attention away from him, and he gets mad pressure because they scheme him pressure. Now, if someone has to cover Bradley Chubb while you're scheming Phillips pressure, like I don't think people realize how much better Miami's defense just got.
Not to mention how much depth they have at edge rusher.
Yeah.
This is a team that can roll out a 4-man rotation or like a 4-man edge rotation of Phillips, Chubb, Melvin Ingram, Emmanuel Agba, and then on the interior you've got guys like Sealer and Wilkins, and I will attest to the day I die that Zach Sealer's an absolute dog. And then you've got Andrew Van Ginkel as your 5th edge rusher, and that's a guy who can come in and produce. He's done it before. And I think what it really culminates in is, like, obviously Miami hasn't won anything yet. What it shows is your aggression is paying off. This was a team that sat back for so long and kind of just let things happen. And now you're noticing that with a new, like, there was not much to say about firing Brian Flores. Nobody thought that Sunday before the infamous Black Monday that they were going to fire Brian Flores. Nobody thought that they were going to do that. But now, like, they did it, and it was an extremely aggressive move. And then you're like, oh, our offense is bad. We're going to go hire one of the youngest head coaches in the entire league to be our offensive-minded head coach. And we're going to let him ship off first-round picks with a quarterback that we weren't sure was the guy because of the fact that, he hasn't played great. And we're going to go ship off picks for Tyreek Hill. Like, it was aggressive move after aggressive move, and they've just all shown that they're paying off right now. And it's like, now you just got to go win it. You got this. You've just opened up the first year of your 3-year window. You've got to go win.
All right, we're gonna move on now, because obviously that was the big deal. Like, that one deserved the time and the effort into that. We're gonna move on to one that's just. I'm gonna be honest. This was a weird trade. Calvin Ridley. So the compensation is all over the place because the guy's suspended indefinitely. But Calvin Ridley is a proven wide receiver 1. And Jacksonville got him for like pennies on the dollar, or a different type of pennies on the dollar, or different type of pennies on the dollar because the man bet the over. Like,
it makes no sense because the thing is with Jacksonville is that there's no way they can lose this trade.
No.
If Calvin Ridley,
if it doesn't work out, it doesn't work out. But if it works out,
if he bombs out, you're giving up like a 4th and a 5th. All of it's so incentivized. It's not even like this guy tore an ACL or anything. He didn't have a career-ending injury. He did not commit some sort of crime that has him like. He did not commit some sort of like heinous crime. It was gambling. It was like, and he was playing very good football like not very long ago. And the fact that they're going to get him for what I believe the maximum is a 2nd and a 4th. And that's only if they sign him to a long-term extension. And I'm going to say it. If you sign Calvin Ridley to a long-term extension, that means that he's played enough that he is worth more than a 2nd and a 4th round pick. There is no way that Jacksonville loses this trade. No. They've done it in such a way that it's so flexible that it's just perfect for them. I don't understand how they could possibly lose it. And as for Atlanta, I think that, this was a guy that I didn't expect them to keep. I just didn't. This doesn't. Their window is weird. Yeah. So
I don't even know what their window is. I'm going to be honest with you.
I don't know. They're in a weird situation because, like, a lot of the NFC is where
they don't have a window. If we're being completely honest, there is no window in Atlanta right now. Like,
this is another one of those teams in the NFC that you looked at and you were like, oh yeah, they're gonna maybe tank. They might be one of the worst teams in football. And then you look at them after week 8 and you're like, oh, the entire NFC is bad. So this team is likely making the playoffs and likely hosting a home playoff game. Like, pretty much every team in the NFC that we thought was going to be bad has gotten to a point where they're like, even they could be 3-5 right now and think we can still make the playoffs. And that's just like what the NFC is right now. There's no teams that are good. There's like 2 teams that there's a couple, but there's only a few teams that like are really,
that I believe can win playoff games
and are proven and can win playoff games. And it's just very odd.
Yeah, so I think this is an A trade. Like, it doesn't matter what happens with Calvin Ridley. This is an A trade for Jacksonville. And for the Falcons, you did what you had to do. So I'm gonna be honest, I'm giving the Falcons an A too, because if this pans out, they get a second and a fourth. And if nothing comes of it, they still
This is
get
a
compensation for a guy who flamed out. So like, this is an A trade either way for both teams, and I loved this deal. But it was weird because
I think it's
like,
I'm not willing to give the Falcons an A right now. I think this is just I'm going to give them an incomplete. It's a very hard trade to grade. It's just not done yet. That's the thing, because there is like, what if Calvin Ridley flames out there? I guess it's fine for the Falcons because it's like he probably would have flamed out anyway. But at the same
Yeah.
time, I feel like his value is probably more than a fourth.
but
and a
not if
fifth
he's
if he
worth
flames
nothing.
out.
Like,
But it's just
Like,
it's
what if
really
they continue-
confusing.
what if the indefinite suspension just continues till the end
That's
of his
true.
contract?
That's 100. That part I will agree with. I will
Then
give them
they get a fourth
as
and a
of-
fifth for nothing.
As of right now, I will give them a B. If Calvin Ridley gets that extension and becomes a second, I will give them an A.
All right, well, there you go. There you have it. Let's keep it rolling. Tyler, how are we feeling?
Feeling good. I mean, I think we have another trade we want to look at. I think it was our last one.
I'm
And
gonna let you take this one because I started the last one. So
okay, for sure. And this one was one that you would look at and you'd be like, did this come from a fake account? Did I get sacked today? Like, did I look at the wrong account? And no, you didn't. TJ Hawkinson being traded in division makes little to no sense to me.
No, not little. No sense. It makes no sense.
And it's just, I mean, I'm just gonna jump into it. I don't even know what to say. Going into it for Detroit, I understand that you probably didn't want to keep him, and on the surface level, you didn't want to pay him, and it's not bad compensation for like a player of his caliber. But when you look back and you're like, we drafted him 3 years ago with the 8th overall pick. This was a top 10 pick on a tight end, and now you're getting essentially a trade up from like 2/4 to 2 seconds. Like, I just don't see the major value there. And not only that, he's going to be playing for the Vikings, who I think they killed it with this trade. You needed
the
another
Vikings did
weapon on
very
this
well.
team. The Vikings are another team in this NFC that has been very good and believes that they can go win right now. And whether or not we believe that with Kirk Cousins at the helm, I'm not sure yet. But you need, like, we're seeing what's happening with all these different teams. Whenever you can just get as many weapons as possible, you do it. And the one thing that they were missing in that Kevin O'Connell Vikings offense was the Tyler Higbee. And you just got Tyler Higbee, but a lot better.
Yeah,
And-
on steroids. Not actually.
you got-
TJ Hawkinson is not on steroids. I just want to make that clear. It's just a
You
saying.
just got supercharged
Also-
Tyler Higbee and a guy that can maybe even play a Kittle-esque role for you. He's pretty much like, this is like the closest you're going to get to like George Kittle light, and you can really play him, I think, in a similar role. And it just makes it so much harder to guard this team because not only do you have Dalvin Cook in the backfield, who's just, fantastic, and you have Justin Jefferson and Adam Thielen. We don't know how much time Thielen is going to miss, but if Thielen is healthy, you have those two, and they're both dangerous. And now you just added yet another weapon. And Irv Smith was obviously going to miss time and hasn't performed well for them in general. So for the Vikings, I'm giving this an A. Whenever you're going to go out of your way to maximize your window and you don't have to give up a first-round pick to do it for a player that I think has not played nearly his best football yet in TJ Hawkinson, I think TJ Hawkinson is worth a lot more than his production would state just because of the fact that I think he hasn't played nearly his best football yet. So I'm going to give them an A. And for the Lions, I don't know. I feel like he would have been a good young target to have for a quarterback, but I also understand that he doesn't fit in the window. It's just, I feel like he was probably a culture guy there. I mean, apparently not enough to keep him, but I feel like that was a guy that you could have established a culture with, especially with Dan Campbell, that you probably were like, he seems like the kind of guy who wants to go punch people in the mouth. And that seems like exactly what Dan Campbell wants to do. And I don't know, it seemed like a match made in heaven when he was there. You were like, yeah, they've got TJ Hawkinson and they've got Amon-Ra St. Brown, and it's just all these like physical guys And like they got Jamal Williams and DeAndre Swift out of the backfield. They just need to get the quarterback down, and then this team will be fun. But you trade away that weapon. So I don't hate the compensation. So I guess I'll go C minus. I'm not huge on this for Detroit.
Okay. I don't know why, but this is the only reason I think that this trade actually went down. I'm pretty sure Detroit thinks that they are going to outwin the first overall pick. Like, you know what I'm saying?
That's what it seems like, because it doesn't make sense as to why they would do like it. Just when I saw it, it just doesn't make sense because, like I said, it seems like he is the perfect fit for this team. So why would you go move on from him? Like this just looks like tanking.
Like in my mind, they must have thought that, hey, we're gonna scrap maybe 4 to 5 wins out of the rest of the year between playing the Bears and some other pretty garbage teams. Like we're gonna scrap out a few wins here, and it's gonna get to the point where, hey, the Panthers or the Texans are gonna end up taking Bryce Young away from us or CJ Stroud away from us, or whoever they fancy at quarterback. This reeks of, we might need capital to move up if a team that wants Will Anderson has the number 1 overall pick, and we need to get in front of Carolina or someone like that.
Yeah, and this is a team that keeps playing close games with other good teams. I mean, we just saw what they did with Miami. They were up 10 points at half. Like, I understand the sentiment, but I don't know. On. It's weird. It's really weird because
if you believe in the quarterback mortgage your future, don't trade away a guy who would be incredible for a quarterback's development.
And especially in the league that we're seeing today, where so many quarterbacks blossom rather immediately, and you have a great offensive line. And next year, you're going to have awesome weapons because you're going to have Jameson Williams coming back, and you're going to have Amon-Ra St. Brown, and you could have had Hawkinson to go along with that. And they were already a great offense. They've been playing really good offense this year for a decent portion of the season. So I don't understand. It just doesn't make any sense to me. The more I think about it, the less sense it makes.
Yeah, I think I have to give it. Listen, good for the Vikings. They're probably going to win the division.
They're running away with it right now.
Yeah, but who cares? It's not a good division, and I don't think they beat the Eagles.
But how many, this is the thing is how many teams are you afraid of? I think Minnesota is just kind of trying to get to the point where they're we believe that we can beat anybody else in this division but Philadelphia. Let's go make moves in this conference except for Philadelphia. Let's go make moves to take down the champ. Because everyone knows that Philadelphia is the best team in that conference. Everybody does. It's not close.
Yeah.
Everybody knows it's Philly. And I think the Vikings are just one of those teams, and they've already lost to Philly, and I think that they just have that sitting in the back of their mind, and they're a team that's thinking we are one, lucky or not, win away from the Super Bowl at all times right now, because we have the ability to go on a run because there aren't that many teams that scare us. We're not afraid of Green Bay. We're not afraid of, I guess they're not afraid of San Francisco, but those
Dallas or the Giants,
or Dallas or any of those teams. Those aren't teams that scare the Vikings right now. So let's go do something that will go help us get more physical, get a weapon, and go punch Philly in the mouth in the playoffs.
I just don't know. I think we should move on because this was a weird trade deadline, and the best trade was the CMC trade in my mind for both teams. And I don't think any of these trades really, other than the Bradley Chubb, move the needle for any of these teams in their window.
No, I don't think so. I think
San Fran's not going to win it all.
You just don't believe it. They're maybe, in my opinion, the best team who you don't believe can win a championship, and that's solely because of the quarterback position. That's it. That's exactly. Entirely it. And that's how I felt about Miami. But Tua has elevated himself where it's getting to the point where you're I can't keep doubting him for that long. You're seeing the guys who doubted him keep having to move him up their quarterback rankings, keep having to, praise him for what he's doing because it gets better every week. And that's just something you're not going to see from Jimmy. So that's why I think you're right. The Bradley Chubb trade is probably the only one that realistically opens up a window for a team or maximizes it.
We're going to switch gears. We're going to have a little bit of fun. Tyler and I got into a little bit of a discussion about Batman. So we're gonna be doing a superhero draft. Tyler, you're gonna have the first overall pick here. We're gonna be drafting 5 superheroes, and we're gonna see who wins. Here we go, Ty.
All right. I know that this isn't necessarily the strongest superhero, and it's not necessarily, like I think it's the coolest, so I'm going with it. And you might not be expecting this. I'm going Spider-Man number one.
You suck. All right.
I was
That was my
waiting for the
number
number
one.
one pick because I wanted Spider-Man. I was hoping you would give it to me, expecting me to take Batman, but I wanted Spider-Man
Yeah, I
really
was.
badly.
I was, and then I was gonna say Spider-Man solos Batman with his eyes closed, because that's true. And if it's up to me, Batman won't even be drafted in this draft. He's not even in my top 5. He's not in my top 10. However, I'm gonna go since Spider-Man is off the board. I'm going with Iron Man. He's better than Batman in every single way. Um, and if we're talking MCU, he's Spider-Man's mentor. Spider-Man would be just a kid in a some cloth if it wasn't for Tony Stark. So Tony is my guy. I'm riding with Tony, and that's my 1-2.
Man, okay. I wasn't gonna go Iron Man, but I think I kind of got to change the strategy up a little bit here, and I think I can like kind of win this right now. And I think my pick is kind of obvious. It's like, maybe the most well-known superhero of all time. I'm going Superman.
He's not even good, bro. Let me be honest with you. Superman is
Yeah,
so overrated. He's a nerd.
yeah,
He can't
but
even get like he the girl that loves him only loves him because he's Superman. I'm gonna be honest with you. She wasn't even looking his way before she knew, and before she was always looking at Superman. She wasn't looking at Clark. Who first of all, whose name is Clark? No offense to any Clarks out there, but what are we doing, pal?
his
You're a
name is Clark
superhero.
and is still fighting crime. So I think that you give him a plus because he's Clark and he's not just like an accountant or something. So I think you give him a little bit
He's
of credit.
he's like a bad journalist. So like I know plenty of bad journalists, and I'm gonna be honest with you, bro. None of them are fighting super villains.
Exactly.
So
None of them are like Clark because Clark's that guy. You should
no,
make your
so
pick now.
unrealistic profession. Everyone
Fine,
would know
explain your
he's
pick then.
Superman.
Let's see your number two.
I'm going with Thor. He's a literal god, like literal god. He's a Norse god. People
Okay.
on Earth worshipped, bro. He controls lightning. He is the most powerful weapon in the universe. He's that guy, and he's just that guy. He's better than Superman. Thor is a better, funnier, cooler Superman.
Okay. Well, I don't know if you're gonna do it to spite me at any point, so I'm doing it now. And like, I don't understand how you possibly beat this trio. I'm taking Batman. I know you don't like Batman, and I understand that. But like, I don't. There are not many cooler superheroes than Batman, and I don't know if it's just because the Robert Pattinson Batman movie and the Dark Knight trilogy are like 4 of the best superhero movies ever made. But Batman's that guy, and I don't understand. I don't know how, no matter who you draft, could possibly beat this trio. So I'm going Batman.
Tyler, if my mommy and daddy were extremely rich and died when I was a child, I could be Batman. But they weren't,
But you're,
so I'm
but
not.
they weren't, and you're not. And Batman's cool, and I'm picked. It's Batman,
Batman
dude. I don't care. It's
has no
Batman.
friends. Batman is not a good superhero. Batman is a poor role model. He abducts children. He almost got 4 kids killed. Like that's like the whole premise of being his sidekick is you almost die and then turn bad for a little bit. And he basically started a school to indoctrinate kids into his crime fighting ways and tries to get them killed. So like I'm not rocking with indoctrinating children into the like literally the whole story of the Teen Titans is they try to stop the illegal superhero trade. So I'm not down with sending kids into illegal kid trading. I didn't know you supported stuff like that, but my pick is Captain America. I am going with the Marvel Big Three. Quite literally box office bestsellers. They are those guys. I just heard gunshots. And We're just gonna keep rolling through it. Welcome to Philly, everybody. But yeah, I don't think you can match the Marvel Big Three. Maybe if Spider-Man is in there instead of Iron Man, it's better. But like, Spidey's 1-1, and I knew you were gonna. I thought you were gonna go Batman because you're weird and you like Batman. And I know people are gonna come at me because I hate Batman, but I despise Batman. He's not. He's not a good super. He's not a superhero. He's a detective who's bulking. Like, he's not.
That's pretty good. I'll give you that.
He's a personal investigator who is bulking. I like.
Fine.
And he is
a
a butler. His butler beat up Superman. So therefore, Superman is also garbage, and Spider-Man's the only person on your team right now with any merits. So there we go.
See, I have 3 choices that I like here, which means I'm probably gonna end up getting 2 of them. But it's and I feel like all of these could be considered a reach at this point. So, I think with the 4-1 here, I think I'm gonna go with the Hulk. Just like I'm gonna keep this like iconic streak going. Like I just have iconic superheroes here. Like I think more people care about the Hulk as a superhero than care about Thor. Like I'm just gonna be real with you. And the Hulk is sick.
I would debate that.
Yeah, and also like
of the new generation that we have.
That's fair. But I'm going with the Hulk. That's my 4-1. There's not much to explain here. I have something I like next round. I have 2 things I like next round. I'm just praying I get one of them. I thought that one might get taken here. That's the point.
I don't know if the person that I want to take is considered a superhero, and that makes it a problem. Like, I guess he's technically an anti-hero, but he is normally a good guy.
I mean, you could do it. It's probably not who I'm going to take. It's definitely not who I'm going to take.
Yeah, if it's an anti-hero, it's definitely not who you're going to take. I'm not going to do it. Actually, nah. You know what? I'm going to do it. I'm taking Deadpool. Funniest guy.
Oh, no. Deadpool is definitely on the list. That's not who I was going to take, but Deadpool is 100% somebody that I was on the list of like people you were able to take.
Deadpool is the funniest, so I have the comedy factor. I also have Ryan Reynolds on my team now, so take that. And he's infinitely better than Batman and Spider-Man. I think Hulk is extremely overrated, and when you look at everyone younger than us, I don't think anyone who is younger than us cares about the Hulk more than anyone on my team right now, other than maybe Deadpool because they're younger than us. But once they see those movies, they're going to be all about it. And like I legitimately think the grades below us in high school, middle school, elementary school, like all of those kids do not care about the Hulk. The Hulk is just kind of there, and he dabs and takes a photo with some kids in Endgame. Like they don't actually know the real Hulk and how like sick Hulk is.
That's exactly why I'm taking it though. Like I'm taking a lot of these characters outside of their MCU and like movie appearances because of the fact that like the MCU has just ruined superhero movies forever. But that's not the point.
Well, I mean, but then MCU you look at Deadpool.
Garbage, but that's not the point.
Deadpool literally, if we're talking outside of the MCU, Deadpool legitimately killed the entire Marvel universe, and then his writers, and then Moby Dick. Like, bro went bananas and just killed everyone in a comic run. So he can literally just get out of comic books, I guess. I don't know, bro. He's just different. He's a different beast. And I think Deadpool is, in fact, that guy.
Okay. Well, my last pick, I'm going a little sentimental here. I don't know why. I've always had a like soft spot for the Flash.
I knew it. How did I know it?
I'm taking the Flash here.
It's because you're Barry Allen.
Maybe. And I was debating Wonder Woman here. I'm not gonna lie. That was my other. Those were the 3 I liked with the 4-1 was Hulk, Wonder Woman, and the Flash. And I don't know. I'm just leaning with the Flash. That's who I'm taking. There's not much of an explanation. He's fast. It's sick. Maybe I'm watching too much Dolphins film. Maybe I'm watching too much Speed on tape. I'm taking the Flash.
All right. Well, I'm gonna be honest here. This is a bargain buy. I'm taking the better version of Superman. I'm taking Shazam. Shazam is a funnier version of Superman who is cooler, um, quite literally has the same powers and could probably beat the heck out of Superman. For those who played the Injustice game, they know that we're Team Shazam out here because Superman is a jerk and Clark Kent is hot trash. So I'm rocking with Shazam, and with Shazam, there's Black Adam who goes crazy. I haven't seen the movie yet, but like, you got that arch rival in there. I'm getting diversity. Like, I'm getting like some different superheroes up in here. I got comedy and I got the big three. It's over. I'm sorry. I know the people aren't gonna like my side, but you all know deep down in your
Yeah, the
hearts that
people aren't going to like your side because you're wrong, and I win.
no,
And like,
no.
I understand that it's really hard for you to accept that, but there was no way that you were going to field a team that would, in the public opinion eye, and just in the righteousness of society, nobody was going to take your team over the big three that I have of Spider-Man, Batman, and Superman. It's
Okay,
unbeatable, and I understand that.
Spider-Man carries your team.
Spider-Man, Batman, and Superman are all
No,
they were all people that you could consider with the 1-1, and you don't have a single person
no.
that would have considered the
I'm gonna,
1-1.
I'm gonna be honest with you. I would not have ever considered Spider-Man, not Spider-Man, Superman or Batman with the 1-1. It would only have been Spider-Man. There's no competition. I wouldn't have considered Batman with the 1-2. I wouldn't have considered him with the 2-1 or 2-2 or 3-1 or 3-2 or 4-1 or 4-2 or 5-1 or 5-2. Actually, I would have taken him at 5-2 because he's last. He's trash. He's just a dude. And we'll give him prep time, bro. If you need prep time, then you're not a superhero because people are dying during your prep time.
Well,
You're a person who wants to get
I'm
into
not
his
debating this. I win. It's
I
just
win,
it's
bro.
simple.
Everyone knows it. Deep down in your hearts, people, you all know that my team is 100% better, and in instant action would win because Batman would need his prep time. And that's the pod. Subscribe, like, rate it, join the chalkboard in the bios, in the description. You guys know you want to come hang out with us because this is so much fun.
And
And
tell us who won the draft. Tell Luke that I won
no,
the
we all
draft in
know.
the comment
We all
section.
know.
Spam up that I got a W and then he took the L. Make sure to do
I'm gonna
that.
be honest with you. I don't think anyone's gonna agree with me, but I know I'm right. So that's the end of the pod. Good day, sir.